yeah, just spending a lot of time by myself, using, drinking, and just in shame spirals constantly, and testing myself. I won't, this weekend I'll take this weekend off just to show myself that I can do this. I'm normal, and of course I couldn't.
Yeah, good to see you. All right.
Hi, everybody. That was actually good. I thought it was going to be Don McLean's American Pie. Did anyone else think that?
Very.
That's what I thought.
Would you like us to sing it now? Do you want us to sing it?
Sure, let's go. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove a Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And good old boy, we had to do the whole thing. Whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. All right.
Anyway.
Woo! Listen, I just want to say this is now my last interview of a long and awesome day.
Me? Okay.
Again, today's my birthday, and
Happy
some of my
birthday.
best, thank you.
Yes.
Some of my best friends in the world are here, and you guys know that nothing makes me happier than to work. And so for this being my 6th interview in this amazing place with you guys, my head is blowing up. I'm so grateful. And I also want to once again point to our amazing sponsor, Seraphim. So I'll tell you a little story about Seraphim. The way that Stephanie makes this is she puts amethyst crystals among the ingredients and then plays meditation music. It sounds like I'm kidding, but I'm not, and it makes you calm. This is wine that makes you calm with no hangover. It's called a social beverage because her commitment is to, just because you're sober doesn't mean that you can't hang out. It doesn't mean that you can't be with your friends. And, as a newly sober person, I didn't want to go out ever because I felt like I won't have anything to hold on to and it'll be weird. Being an addict is isolating. But then it occurred to me, how many people in the room are addicted to their phones? Right. We're not special. We're not special. We're all addicts. You guys need my show, so make sure you tune in. Thank you so much. Woo. All right, Biggs, what do you want to talk about?
All right, Kat, let's go. How are you? Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so this is, what are we? It's March?
March 13th.
So what is this?
I'm a Pisces.
Pisces.
Yep, Pisces. Any other Pisces in the room? Yes. Crazy people, right? But fun. I think.
Crazy but fun.
Crazy but fun. That's what we go for.
I like a Pisces.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, here I am.
I like you.
I like you also.
I like you a lot.
We share a couple of really good friends in common, and Jason made out with my dog. So
true story.
That happened.
Yep.
It happened.
Yeah. Does she think of me?
A lot. Yeah. From heaven.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It was like 11 years ago that happened.
I know, but I wish you would have told me,
I know, well, a lot has happened in your life
Could
since
have
then.
grieved properly for my lost love.
I'm sorry, but you were the last thing she said.
I was?
Biggs. That's what happened. It was Biggs. Ow. Mic drop, the whole thing.
That's funny.
Life, what are you going to do? But we are here to talk about sobriety. Whatever. We can talk about sobriety. We've done a lot of sober talk tonight.
Yeah.
You're what, 7 years?
I am 7.5 years back of a 7.5 years of a 12-year journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened the other?
Bunch of fucking relapses.
Relapses. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So what happened this time to make it stick?
I just gave up. I just waved the white flag. It was also a God shot of all God shots sort of happened. So I had most of my relapses. So I first got sober, 12 years ago when Jenny, my wife, when we found out she was pregnant with our first son. And people say you have to get sober for yourself, which is very true. But I also needed some external motivation.
Dependence.
Yes. because I had been struggling for a really long time, but I just wasn't really considering doing it. And I sort of kept telling myself, actually, I'm sure a lot of people have done this, like, oh, I'll stop when I'm 30, Yeah, and 30 came and went, I'll stop when I get married, and got married and kept partying. When I have a kid, that's when I'll have to stop. And the kid thing happened, and I had that last year before Jenny got pregnant. It was really dark, and I was very isolated, and I was living in California at the time, and just spending a lot of time by myself, drinking, and just in shame spirals constantly, and testing myself. I won't. This weekend I'll take this weekend off just to show myself that I can do this. I'm normal. And, of course I couldn't. So we found out she was pregnant with Sid on Memorial Day weekend. And I proceeded to go on a 3-day bender.
Right, that's what you do.
And Tuesday, this was Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, and then Tuesday sort of came out of it all going, what the fuck am I doing? She's pregnant, and I have to do something about this. And so that was the first. I actually went to therapy that week. My therapist, who I'd been with for quite a few years at that point, and I finally told her, and I said, I think I have a problem. And by the way, this is a therapist who I had been going to her for a few years and telling her the most insane using stories. Right, like.
Were you like, where was she during all this? Why didn't she maybe suggest?
Well, hold on. There's a punchline here. So I go, excuse me. I go, I think I need to do something about this. I need help. And she goes, I've been waiting for this moment for a little bit, and I wasn't sure if I was going to tell you this, but I'm going to. I've been sober for 34 years, and I can help you. And I was like, what? What?
Does that make her a good or a bad therapist?
Because she didn't say something sooner?
Like good that she kept her anonymity, but bad that, right.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with good.
Okay.
Please don't ruin my memory of her. It's a good story. I thought it was a good story, and now you're putting it in my head. Maybe she does fucking suck.
Yeah. Sorry.
And did not have my well-being at top of mind. Look, also, to be clear, I would tell her stories, but edited as, as we do. Like I would pick and choose what I shared, and always.
And bottle count, right? Like I had a bottle of wine, not 3 bottles of wine.
Yeah. And so much left out. Just so many details of my, alcoholism and addiction that I would leave out, of course. But anyway, it was to me, it was like, whoa, okay. And so she set me up with someone who took me to my first AA meeting, which was horrible.
Right. Bad meeting, or you just felt bad?
Well, it was, so she took me to this meeting. It's in LA, and I'm freaked out. So rehab wasn't, in hindsight, I actually feel like maybe I should have gone to rehab. It probably, I feel like I could have benefited from rehab and that kind of extreme focus on getting clean. I wasn't dependent on any drugs at that time. I had gone through an opiate phase, but was kind of okay at that point on that front. I would still take them if I had them, but I wasn't dependent on them. If you offered, I would fucking chew it up and swallow it, of course. But yeah. But anyway, I was kind of freaked out in terms of anonymity and getting found out, and it was all new to me. I was like, oh, what if it gets in the press, and and.
That's a scary moment, actually. But
yeah.
Because I got sober when Talk Stoop was going, and I was in every cab in New York City, and I was like, I do not want that to be the story. I wanted to do it on my own. So
yeah.
I hear you on that. It sucks.
Yeah, it was. I was kind of petrified, and it was also more selfish than that. My thing. It wasn't even about like doing it on my own, and it was about what will this do to my career.
Yeah.
It was a very selfish thinking. I think at the time, and But anyway, I was very concerned, and so my therapist set me up with someone who brought me to a meeting. And actually, that was the first time I had heard about, I had known about AA, but they were like, what about AA? And I was like, what? Just fucking, okay, I guess. Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, sure. And I talked to this woman who was going to take me to my meeting, and maybe I wasn't very clear, but I thought it was, we'd be going to a meeting with a lot of people, and I can kind of hide in the back and have my hat on, and I thought I was clear that I was very nervous and wanted to try to stay, I was freaked out. Try to stay, inconspicuous or conspicuous. Conspicuous. Inconspicuous.
Anyone?
Thank you. Inconspicuous, anonymous. And so, anyway, she takes me to this meeting, and it was like a little coffee shop on Vine Street. It was like, it was a meeting at a table, like a dining room table size, with like 8 people.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for your first meeting.
And I sit down at a chair, and then she sits down at the chair next to me, and we don't know where the speaker's gonna be, but I'm like, hopefully the speaker's at least at that end of the table. The speaker was right here next to me. Stood up, and I'm really like freaked out, and again, I have my hat kind of low, and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. And the speaker that day starts telling his story, and I don't even remember if I recognized anything or if I identified with anything in that story, because pretty quickly into the story, it became very clear that he was a disgruntled actor, and he just started talking about how he resents working actors. And saying shit like, yeah, and those, and all these successful actors, and they live up in the hills in their beautiful houses, which I did. And I'm sitting there like dying inside, going, oh my fucking God. And I'm really trying hard not to make eye contact so he doesn't see me. And at a certain point, we did, and he recognized me, and it was the most awkward moment you could possibly imagine. And I was so uncomfortable. And anyway, the meeting ended. I was all blurry and like weird, and we laughed and we walked out. And before I even opened my mouth, my friend looked at me and said, my now friend, I mean, at the time she was just this girl taking me to a meeting. She goes, please give me one more chance. Let me take you to one more meeting. Please, do you have one more meeting in you? And I was like, okay, sure. And so I think the next day we went to another meeting, and it was great. And I heard my story from someone and was like, okay. And I kept going back, but then I kept, interesting part about our brains, I feel like, at least for me, spent the last how many years of my drinking and using thinking, oh fuck, I might have a problem. And then spent the first couple years of my sobriety telling myself, I don't have a problem.
Right. Right.
I'm okay. I can do this. I can do this. And so it was a lot of that. And so I had a few relapses, none of which were crazy. Thank God. Some of them were very, very brief. Some of them were just a night. Some of them were a drink. Some of them were a few weeks. Maybe there were a few months in there. Was there
a similarity of what brought them on, or it was just a Tuesday?
It was a Tuesday. Exactly right. There was no real rhyme or reason to any of them. And the very last one was I had been sober for, it had been a little while. I think I was maybe approaching a year, actually. And we had just had our second son now, and we came home from the hospital, and someone who did not know me or my sobriety journey, I guess, had gotten us a bottle of wine as a congratulatory sort of, gift. It was waiting for us in the apartment when we got home, and it was in the kitchen, and it was a screw cap, which is that's an important detail, of course. I see a lot of nodding heads. And my wife was in the back, Jenny was in the back, tending to a crying baby. And I was in the kitchen by myself, looking at a bottle of wine that had a very convenient screw cap on it. And my right hand went up to the top of the screw cap and unscrewed it, and I chugged 3/4 of the bottle. And I was drunk. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Because it was there.
Because it was there.
And you're an alcoholic.
And I'm an alcoholic. That's why.
You're welcome.
That's why. Thank you. Got it. And that night I was like, what the fuck? Just couldn't believe it, and woke up the next morning and, shaming myself, of course. And I walked out. We had just moved into this building. Actually, that was also kind of weird and crazy, but our first night in this building was the night before we left to go to the hospital, and for her to have she was scheduled. It was a scheduled birth. And so we got into the new place, and then a couple hours later got up and went to the hospital to have our second son. So anyway, so we come back from the hospital, and it's this new apartment. I drink the wine. The next morning I walk out, I'm in the lobby, and there's a guy in the lobby that I recognize from Perry Street. Anyone in New York here know Perry Street meeting?
We're Perry Streeters.
Yep. Amazing. For those of you that don't know Perry Street, it is a little shithole on Perry Street and West 4th, little tiny room that has been an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting consistently since 1959, I believe.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's still going, and it survived the pandemic and the whole thing. But I had gone there a few times in my previous stints in sobriety. It's sort of my local meeting. And I recognized this guy who always sat right in the front row, 9 a.m. meeting. Recognized him, Michael A., right away. And I'm walking through my lobby, and I see him in the lobby. And I'm like, and I just kind of look at him, and I'm like, Perry Street? And he goes, yeah. And I go, oh, hey, what's going on? And he's like, oh, nothing. I was just visiting a friend here is this your building? Do you live here? I go, yeah, we just moved in. And he's like, oh, yeah, I was just visiting a friend here. I was just about to leave. Are you leaving? And I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. He's like, come walk with me. And I walked with him. I had to go uptown, and he lived in Chelsea. And so I'm walking with him, and he's like, give me your story. What's going on? And I was like, well, it's been a couple years, but I drank last night. And I don't fucking know, man. Like, Jesus, I just don't know. And he's like, okay. He talked to me, gave me his story, told me, I was gonna be okay, and was like, gave me his number, took my number, and he's like, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Perry Street, let's go. Counting days, fucking let's go. And that was my God shot. By the way, he's never been back in that building. Like, wow. That was because I've checked in with him. I'm like, where have you been back to I've never seen you. He's like, no, I haven't been actually since like that day.
Wow.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Yeah. And so I started counting days again at Perry Street, and got my sponsor there, and that was 7 years ago. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And are you still in it? I know you're still sober, but are you still like practicing meetings and all the things?
Ebbs and flows. Yeah. Pandemic, I switched online quite a bit. Perry Street kind of had an offshoot online meeting, and then had an online meeting, and then there was an offshoot of that. And then that meeting is still in existence. It's still 9 a.m. online. I will hit that one. It's called Open Door. It's a great meeting if anyone wants to join. And sometimes I'll go to Perry Street. There's also one on Christopher. But it ebbs and flows. It's never enough. I will say I'm never. I probably should do a 90-90 would be. I'm in that. I'm due for one of those, I think.
Wow, that's a real workout.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think let's start with just 3 a week would be good. I think. Why don't I start there? It's been like 1 or 2, and I'm feeling it. I need a little more. Life has gotten big. Life is full. I'm still sober, but I get squirrely, and I need it right now.
Well, I know you're coming off this huge project. You were editing forever. When you're working hard like that, how does it affect your sobriety?
Yeah. It's interesting. On the one hand, when you're busy, it's good, and it's, there's other things to think about. There's distractions. There's also a real sense of, for me, one of the early, there's so many AA-isms, as those of you who are in the program know, which when you first walk into the rooms, Perry Street has them all over the walls too. Most meetings do. You kind of go, what the fuck? And then slowly but surely, they all start making so much sense. And then you start dropping them in conversations with people who aren't sober, and they think you're fucking brilliant. They're like, where'd you come up with that? I'm like, I just, look, man, you just gotta be a worker amongst workers. And but that actually was the one I was going to reference right now, because when I'm super busy and my work has changed so much since I've gotten sober, because again, it was so easy to make everything about myself, and it's fun to just show up and go, this is the job I have to do, and I'm just going to do it. And so when you go into a job in that frame of mind, it's easy to keep your sobriety close, I think. But there were times, this last project that I did, it was my first time directing. I had a lot of fear around it, imposter syndrome. I was weird. I was confident, and I've always wanted to do it, and I've been acting for 40-something years, and always felt like this is what I'm going to do next. But I'm afraid of failure, and so for that reason, I knew I had to do it, and I had this opportunity. But yeah, I tried to stay close to my sponsor as much as I could. There was no one else that was sober in the production. Usually there's, or at least no one that I was able to sniff out where that came to me. Someone. Well, it was Canada, so not Reno.
They don't make rips?
Yeah. There are no sober people. They're Canada sober, so it's like Labatt Blue is okay, but nothing else. Molson, but not Canadian Club. But anyway, and it was a very hard shoot, like hard in ways that it shouldn't have been, and I was very stressed, and could have been susceptible, but I did a couple meetings when I could, and I called my sponsor, and yeah, I managed. But
do you feel like a hero?
I am a hero.
Yes, sorry, of course he is. Yes.
Not all heroes wear capes, Some wear black leather jackets and women's standees.
Right.
TMI?
On that, as I was preparing for this interview, I heard you talking about OCD.
Yep.
I'm a pretty massive OCD sufferer, and I've worked on it a lot of different ways over the years. But it's occurred to me that my drinking was a lot of self-medicating for that. Do you feel that way about yours?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I only just got that.
Yeah. That's big that you got. I mean, that's really big. It's like, I call it the snakes in my head. I mean, I have so many fucking snakes in my head. Had so many snakes in my head, and the booze and the drugs helped to calm them down, help quiet them down.
What keeps you at bay now?
A healthy cocktail of SSRIs and
Excellent.
meditation, and I have pharmaceutical assistance, I have therapeutic assistance. Yeah, I mean, for me, when I was 20, my OCD when I was a kid was debilitating. It's really gnarly, and in the irony of all ironies, and not to shit on them because I don't want to do that, but my parents both have really bad OCD. My dad has horrendous OCD, but my OCD as a kid, I don't know if it was because it shined something back on them or what, but I would generally get in trouble for it. There was no sympathy. There was no understanding. I mean, I would wash my hands until they were cracked and bloody and bleeding, and I would get in trouble for it, But there were so many other, crazy shit that I did or couldn't do because of it, and they didn't feel safe to go to. And I wasn't aware that they had it too, actually, because I wasn't aware of what it was. For me, it was just, if I don't say, 40 active contritions and Hail Marys and Our Fathers before I go to bed at night, I'm gonna die. I mean, whatever, or whatever number popped into my head, by the way. It could have been 62, and I was like,
The worst one is like 99.
yeah, and if I messed up at any point, I had to go back to the beginning and do it all again. So like bedtime, getting into bed, it was like 2 hours before I could fall asleep. And that happened regularly. But I didn't feel safe taking that to them. But my dad, that's where I got it from, clearly. And also, the house didn't feel safe sometimes. And OCD is very much about like controlling your environment, making you feel safe somehow. Also ironic because it would torture me, but it was about kind of keeping control of things, right? And so it wasn't until I was 25 or 4 that's when I first started therapy. And I got on Zoloft that I ever had any sort of relief. And I was like, whoa. I mean, I would have relief with boozing and drugs, but then it was temporary, and it created its own sort of shit, because yes, in the moment I'm not tripping about whatever, but I am gonna wake up the next morning and spend 4 hours going, oh my God, what did I say last night? Who did I say it to? Oh shit,
Yes, I know.
Yeah, and so Zoloft saved me.
Thank God.
Yeah, and anyway.
How is your relationship with your folks now?
Much better. Yeah, it was hit and miss when I was growing up.
How did they handle your alcoholism?
They were surprised, I think, when I got sober. I don't think they were aware of anything. I mean, I was also living in Los Angeles at the height of my, I did start drinking in high school and smoking weed in high school, but my parents were super strict around it. My mom was very sort of black and white. My mom has a lot of trauma in her past and goes to very catastrophizes everything. So for me, she tried teaching me and my sisters, or teaching, but what she would say to us is, if you had a drink, you wrap your car around a tree and die. There was no okay, maybe you have a drink at your friends and be careful, or like maybe you drink here so I can see it. There was none of that. It was like, alcohol will kill you. You're gonna die. Yeah, it was very dark. It was very fucking dark. But like, I'm sure that was also part of the reason why I was like, I'm gonna fucking drink. Like, I can't wait for this thing.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
But sure, like rebellion, 100% was part of it for me too. But anyway, so it really picked up though when I moved to LA, had independence for the first time, had some money, had some success, didn't have a whole lot of people telling me no. That's one of the weird, interesting, dark sides of fame, is that no one really tells you no, or doesn't want to tell you no.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's fascinating.
Are your friends falling down on the job, or is everyone enamored by the fame?
People are kind of enamored by the fame, I think. And you just say my friends? Or my friends? Oh, my friends. Yeah, friends were kind of along for the ride. They loved that, because by proxy they weren't getting told no either.
Right.
Like they were. It wasn't like they needed to tell me no. They were like, wait, we get told yes everywhere? Like, that's fucking awesome. And so it was a whole thing. But not even just like no to doing drugs or partying. Whether it's access or favor in some way, like any kind of, sometimes very subtle ways, you just get, oh, okay, and you get kind of used to that, and it's fucked.
It's fucked.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to set you up for this question, but if you could be an artist, be an actor, be a director, do your stuff without the fame, would you want that option?
If I could have the problem is that in our industry, success and fame go very hand in hand. I mean, depending on your definition of success, of course. But if you're trying to get people to see your work, right? Very simply, if you want people to see it, the more people that see it, the more well-known your work is, you are, and therefore the fame sort of comes with that. So I've always, I've had a love-hate relationship in the past with fame, but I have a love-love relationship with it now, partly because I'm aware of the sort of the traps, the trappings and the traps and the downfall and all of the like weird things. I'm aware of the people saying yes. I kind of always have been, but I certainly took advantage of it for a long time. But I was always aware of it. And for me, you know, people ask me this all the time, and they ask me specifically about American Pie, and because I'm known very much for that one movie and for that character, and even more specifically for one scene.
For that scene, right?
And people go, Yep, and people go, does it bother you? Does it almost bother you, right? People always talk to you about that. People ask you about that. And I'm like, no, like how fucking lucky. I've also now, it's also, yeah, and it's been 27 years since that movie. And you know what? I probably will never have another success like, I hope I do. It'd be great.
This upcoming film.
Yeah, maybe. But you know what? Even if I don't, most people don't get that one, you know? And so I'm very aware of how lucky I am to have had that and to have it and to continue to touch people, have people recognize me for it. And so, you know, so for me, it really is, that sounds cheesy, it really is a blessing. Like, I really, really appreciate it. There are times when people can be inappropriate. You know, people ask me, like, does it bother you when people come up to you and ask you for photos or something? And there can be inappropriate times that people do it, and I'll say it's not the right time. With my kids, I won't take pictures with people, but if I'm with my kids, I won't take pictures. But it's so flattering that people still want to take a picture with me. I know how fickle this industry is and the ebbs and flows of it. And here I am, you know, 42 years after I started, 27 years after I did American Pie, and people still want to take their picture with me and go, and it happened tonight, you know, some lovely people that were in here were like, man, that movie, just, you know, I grew up with it, and it's just like, it's so cool, I still think about it, and that cast, and da-da-da-da, and like, that's fucking awesome.
It is awesome.
And, you know, maybe it's sobriety, too, that helps me have that perspective, you know, like it's...
For sure.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think you can divorce sobriety from any perspective.
From any, yeah, it's true.
At this point.
It's true.
I know we have to wrap up, but I just want to finish up with this. You are very vocal about your sobriety. David Mannheim and Dopey and I joke that we're like the herpes of sobriety podcast. Like, we just keep having the same guests back and forth all the time. But I know you're the best. I know you've done his show. Do you speak about it to keep yourself honest? Do you speak about it because it's service? What makes you say yes to things like this?
That's a great question. And kind of both, to be honest. Before you gave those two options, I was going to say to help people. But when you said to keep myself honest, I realized that every time I talk about sobriety, whether it's with just one person on the street or on a podcast with an audience or at a meeting, it is also so for me in keeping myself honest. Like, it is absolutely making myself accountable for sure. And if I happen to help some people in the process, then great. You know, it is, you know, based on the story I told you guys at the beginning, like, I went from, you know, being embarrassed that I needed help at all, and afraid to show my face, and freaked out kid in a chair at a coffee shop at an AA meeting on Vine Street in Hollywood, going, I can't believe I'm here, and I will, like, you know, to now talking about it with anyone who wants to talk about it, you know, and you know, it's like, hey, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Anyone can do it, for sure. Anyone can do it. And I needed help. And you know what else? Like, I also, people of note for me, you know, it did certainly help me. Like, when I would see someone, and a fellow actor talk about his or her sobriety, that helped me because I go, okay, like it's not a career death sentence, you know, like it's not okay. It's not like you're wearing a scarlet A, and like you could do this. Or even more recently in sobriety, I'm a big food guy, and I was really, I didn't know how I could continue to travel and eat at these great restaurants, and if I was sober, I had no idea. And then I met some chefs who were sober, and talked to them or saw them or read their Instagram, and they inspired me. But more than that, it's just, it's John D. It's Mary A. At Perry Street, or some random meeting when I'm in New Jersey or wherever, that have helped me the most, for sure. So if my story helps, then great. And actually I was reluctant, even a couple years into sobriety. I was still a little reluctant, and then I decided to post after a few relapses. I got a year, and I decided to post it on Instagram. And I was nervous about doing it, but the feedback that came back, I was like, okay, this is actually, and there's still one person on Instagram from that post. Someone wrote me and said, I think I want to try it. I think I'm going to try it. And he keeps writing me with updates, and he couldn't, he would string together a few days and relapse. Then it was a year, and then he relapsed, and his wife passed away, and like cancer, like it was like, and now he has like 4 years sober, and he just writes me on Instagram, and it started because I posted that, and so anyway, it's I'm very lucky to be sober. I'm very lucky to be helped by people like yourselves, and to be able to help people, be of service.
Amen. Thank you so much. Jason Jennings, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks to the Algonquin Hotel and Willits. Let's give Willits a round of applause. Hey, thanks for checking out the show. Once again, this is Soberness. Please don't hesitate to follow us, to like us, and subscribe. Definitely subscribe. It'll help us out a lot. And drop us a line. Let us know how we're doing, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of, and tell us your own sober story. Thank you so much. Again, this is Soberness.